Holy macaroni, Batman! What have they done to Tim Drake? Nice cover, but it's got nothing to do with the story. Konnichiwa, Minasan. It's Gray from Wakazashi's Tea House home in Japan. How you doing? You good? You genki? I tell you, I've got a confession to make. We truly are living in bizarro world. This is my review and comments and thoughts on the new Tim Drake Robin issue 1. Hold on to your hats, heroes, because this ride is gonna get bumpy. Now, come on, you know me by now. I like to remain positive. I like to focus on positives, but this one, I just couldn't let it slip past. It came out a week ago and I want to talk about it. Okay, here we go. I'm going to be reading from a WordPress article, a WordPress post that I put up today. I'm old and I remember Dick Grayson as Robin the Boy Wonder when I started reading Batman comics. Then Dick broke away and became Nightwing, and Jason Todd arrived as a new, mouthier Robin. His popularity was pretty mixed to begin with, but I kind of liked him from the start. He wasn't afraid to question Batman, even smart-mouth him at times. This eventually led to the unforgettable Death in the Family story arc, where readers were encouraged to phone in to decide if Jason Todd lived or died at the climax of that story. Have you read that, by the way? I recommend it. It's a great story. An oldie but a goodie. I missed the debut of Tim Drake as Robin because I'd moved on to reading more adult comics that became DC's excellent Vertigo line of books. Titles like Hellblazer, Sandman, Shade the Changing Man, Animal Man, Doom Patrol and The Invisibles. Yeah, I like Grant Morrison. What are you going to do? I'd heard there was a new Robin and he had his own series being written by Chuck Dixon. That solo series started in 1993, but Dixon had penned 3 miniseries before it. Robin Reborn, Robin 2, The Joker's Wild, and Robin 3, Cry of the Huntress. After what DC Comics has just done to Tim Drake Robin, I'm really tempted to pick each of those miniseries up and read them. I am 100% sure they'll be far more entertaining than this comic. So, the question I hear you asking is, what did DC Comics do to Tim Drake? You may have heard the news about their recent decision to write Tim as either bisexual or gay from this year. Whatever, that's not really an issue for me, as long as it isn't the focus of the story, which it shouldn't be anyway. What amazed me about this issue was just how clunky and downright bizarrely it's written. This really is Bizarro World. To begin with, I felt like I'd walked into the middle of a story, even though this is the first issue. I've since learned that you're expected to have read everything that the writer, Meghan Fitzmartin, has done with this character before this opening issue. Are you serious? Is that written or suggested in this comic or in the press leading up to this comic? No, of course not. That would be too helpful, or more likely, put readers off from picking it up. My second issue, see what I did there? My second issue with this comic is Tim Drake and how he's written. It was like reading a completely different character, or a completely out of character Tim Drake. Tim's voice is nothing like the existing character's voice. His actions are not the actions of a superhero who would do everything possible to save his friends. At one point, he's standing back, watching his friends getting attacked and beaten by a giant, invisible orangutan. I put a question mark where I said invisible because I've no idea if he's invisible or not. It's not made clear. Why does Tim just stand there? Because he's thinking through the case out loud, while his friends are screaming at him to please help them. That's just one example. Another example is a scene very early on in the comic where Tim's friend, Bernard, who used to have a crush on Tim's mum but now has the hots for Tim, manages to sneak up behind Tim and surprise him. Tim's had years of training and experience fighting people that want to kill him. Do you think a civilian should be able to get the jump on him? How the artist depicts this has to be seen to be believed. Now let me say that I don't like being too critical of artists because I can't draw very well myself. I wish I could. But for me, Riley Rossmo's art doesn't fit this book. He's more like an indie artist. I think he belongs in indie books. Let's just say it's a very unique depiction of Tim Drake, like nothing you've seen before. Now it's worth noting that Rossmo's art has been getting a lot of criticism over this book. While I'm not a fan of it here, for me the writing is the main problem. Meghan Fitzmartin has written this like a deluded piece of adolescent fanfiction that was given the OK after one draft. There are huge gaps in the plot and it doesn't make much sense. Possibly aware of this, Fitzmartin attempts to explain the plot of the story as it progresses, but it's all over the place. Try showing and not telling everything. And if you're going to telegraph the plot, at least make it make some kind of sense. Okay, please let me try and summarise the story. I'll make it as brief as I can, I promise. Tim Drake has moved to the rundown Gotham City marina where he's surprised by his used-to-be friend but now boyfriend Bernard. They go to a local food stall and get burgers. As they are sat down eating their food, two local women approach, handing out flyers. They are two of Tim's new neighbours. We then get mini synopses of a group of these neighbours, including a straight couple, a lesbian couple, a dock worker called Tuna, and a they-them called Pie. Tim goes back to his boathouse alone and bumps into newish friend Darcy. She has come to see how he's settling in. Suddenly, a scream rips through the air. They go to see what's up and discover the two flyer ladies dead on the dock. One has been decapitated. The police are called and Tim changes into his Robin costume. He thanks Detective Williams for coming after calling him, and the detective says this line: "I'm not your fairy gay father." Yes, that is a real line of dialogue in this comic. You are not hallucinating. Robin starts investigating the dock, then quotes a line from Sherlock Holmes and tells us he's quoting Sherlock Holmes, just in case we didn't know. Detective Williams watches on with his arms folded. Robin tells him, "I called because I know you care." Again, this is real dialogue. The clues he finds lead Robin to say, "I know what this is. The murder's in the Rue Morgue." Then he runs away as a very large shining orangutan appears out of nowhere. We then get a lot of exposition which tries to explain what's causing it all, but I was left scratching my head. Something about a white disc being a transport device which makes these animal constructs transparent. What? Robin finds this disc and breaks it. Nothing happens. There are references to previous random comics, including DC Pride Special and Batman Urban Legends, that this same writer has had stories in. Detective Williams and Darcy are being attacked by the orangutan while Robin thinks about the case, out loud. Darcy screams at him to stop thinking and start helping. He replies, "I know the story this is from, but not how it ends." Darcy tells him, "This is your story, Robin. End it how you would want." Again, this really happens in the comic. And the finale? How he ends it? How he stops this huge murderous orangutan? Robin gives it a straight razor he found near the murdered women. For some reason, he gives it to the orangutan in its mouth. The orangutan suddenly disappears, but we don't see it happen. We then get 2 more pages of Tim explaining the story to us via Darcy. So much exposition, almost like the writer was trying to explain it to herself. Let me give you one more piece of dialogue. Here we go. "By giving the orangutan the straight razor back, I helped the orangutan feel like a man." The end. Well, to be continued actually. Ladies and gentlemen, I rest my case. Hey, are you still with me? So I ended my post with this. This is my concluding paragraph. So much exposition, weird jumps in the plot, cringe dialogue at times, and the very individual art style. Remember, comics are a visual medium. Comic readers don't want to have the story explained to them as it goes. This is not a comic book. I don't know what it is. Am I being overly harsh? Possibly. But as Morpheus said to Neo, you have to see it for yourself. This is not a recommend. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And I'm sorry, as I say, for giving a negative video for a change. But, you know, this had to be said. And you know what? I feel better for saying it. Thanks so much for watching, really appreciate it. Please leave me a comment. Tell me I'm wrong, tell me why I'm wrong, tell me why you liked it, but come on, please be serious. Come on, this is unbelievable. It really is. Okay, this is Wakizashi, who is currently really enjoying the current Batman comic book, which is written by Chip Zdarsky, which features a very different, shall we say, Tim Drake. Nothing like the Tim Drake depicted in this, whatever it is. I would say it's an Elseworlds, young adult something or other, I don't know. Okay, so I hope to see you in your future video. This is Gray from Wakizashi's Tea House signing off, saying, God help me, please, somebody. Matane. Wakizashi's Tea House. Please subscribe.